back to the HaneyBiz Project with investorpreneur Mark Haney, coming to you from the Marquee Media Studio.
Welcome back to the HaneyBiz Project, brought to you courtesy of accounting firm Clifton Larson Allen and California Growth Advisors. I'm Mark Haney, and today I am joined by Ben Barnholdt, the director of the award-winning broadcast and media program at Whitney High School. How you doing, Ben?
I'm doing awesome, man. I'm living the dream. Thanks for having me and all of us here.
Well, yeah, in the background here, we have the Whitney High School Broadcast Team, which they're award-winning. We know that they are great, but tell us about what makes them so great.
Well, this is a weird turn of events here because usually I'm the one standing behind them and supporting them. So for them to be here is pretty awesome.
Very cool.
And I'll tell you, this is a group of people here right now and back at the station that work super hard. They have an incredible work ethic and an incredible drive, and they're always trying to get better. They love constructive criticism, and they're just trying to be the best they can be.
You know, it's interesting because you talked about work ethic. We don't learn work ethic through a textbook. Where do we get our work ethic from?
I think a lot of them get it from their parents. A lot of them get it from their, we have a sign before you leave to walk out the door that says commitment to excellence. And we define what a commitment to excellence means, and it's a commitment to each other. So if you're going to be there, if you need to be there at 7 o'clock, we're going to be there at 6:55. And that's kind of a motto that they live by. So we don't actually start school till 7:40. But when they do our daily show, they're standing at the door at 7 o'clock waiting to get in, open it.
How much time do you spend looking at textbooks?
We don't have textbooks.
No textbooks in a classroom? What? How do you learn?
Experience and trying and failing, honestly. I hope that if I could do anything with them, we give them a safe place to fail. Make a mistake, because the consequence here is it's not what it is in our world, in the real world. It's a place to take a risk. And if it doesn't work out, we're going to pick you up. And we have a belief in our classroom, this idea of Ohana, and that we're all family and that we're going to look out for one another, and they live it. It's not just something that hangs on the wall. It's something they live every single day.
Well, you talk about what's written on the wall or what's hanging on the wall. When you walk into your classroom, what do we feel? What is this outsider supposed to feel, and what do we feel?
I would say you would feel a sense of progress and future, and that you can take a risk and that your dreams can come true. And in that context, my favorite part of the room is the biggest wall of our room is all their college pennants. And over the last 10 years, I would say there's probably close to 50, 60 pennants up there, and they've got 11 more that are coming, and there's more that are coming. So it's the opportunity to take a risk. You don't have to go into broadcast, but just to try, get out there, and even if it doesn't work out, we're going to help you out. And those critical thinking, leadership skills, teamwork skills are what are going to get them to the schools they're going to.
Well, when I've been into your classroom, it looks like walking onto a newsroom set, right? It lights, cameras all over the place. The pennants are important, but how do you use the set to develop the work that goes into winning those pennants? I
would say that we create a daily show, so we have about a 15-minute long daily show Monday through Friday, and then we also do about 25 to 30 live events. We do some award shows for our athletic department, we do football games, and then just about a month ago, we finally got our live video production trailer. It's a 25-foot long trailer that we're still working on building out.
Nice.
We put all the equipment over it. We worked over spring break putting the equipment in it. And then we actually used it last week, kind of testing it out for a dance show. And it's the tipping point of something pretty awesome that's coming that this community will see pretty soon.
Describe to us, besides the pennants, what goes into it? What's a success story look like?
Oh, man, them right here, and the 84 of the kids that are in the program.
How many are there?
84 each year that we load into the program. Yep. And then, so I teach 7 out of 8 classes. Most teachers will usually teach 6, and so we have so many people that want to be a part of it. It ends up being about 7 out of 8 classes. And a success story is a student who is willing to listen and really want to buy into constructive criticism. And for a lot of them, if you look at them right now, they would tell you, okay, what can I do better? What can I do? Here's what I did. Help me out. What's next? And that to me is a success story, and never quitting and always willing to try.
Well, during the break, we were having them sort of critique me on how I was doing it. They were picking me apart pretty good. I was a little embarrassed, but you know what? We have professionals. This is kind of an awkward day where I have professionals critiquing me, but it's actually fun. But what do you do as a teacher? Part of what you do must be encouragement, but there must be also the criticism that comes along with it too.
It is, because everything that we do is very public, so nothing is hidden. There's nothing, you can't hide behind anything. Even, and for them, in a world of social media and of being on a high school campus, everything they do is public. So if they have a bad interview or they have bad audio, they have to sit in their class and watch that play. And so you develop some pretty thick skin very quickly. But the fact that they actually took that risk, that they went out and interviewed somebody that maybe they didn't know, and they had 4 classes, and then they went to work, and then they're doing that on top of that and writing it at midnight. Those are all success stories. But I gotta be honest with you, I've learned over time that I got to build a smart team. So I have an administration that supports us. We have a district that believes in what they're doing. And then I don't shoot the videos, so they're the ones that get out there and make it happen. So I'm nothing without them. So they're the ones that make it happen.
Yeah. Well, how many go on to stay in journalism or stay in the media?
I would say about 50-50. There's I would say 100% of them use it on college applications. They use it on resumes. They use it to get jobs within the community. I'll be honest with you, and in baseball terms, I'm probably about 1,000 as far as when these kids want to go out and get a job. They're going to look you in the eye, they're going to shake your hand, and they're probably going to end up asking you more questions than you ask them. And by the time you walk out, they're getting a phone call, hey, when do you want to start? Wow. And it's that is one of my favorite parts is hearing those stories.
Well, nobody bats 1,000 in my mind, but obviously it's happening here at Whitney High School. I know that there's nothing else like this in the region. Am I right?
There are some schools that do video production and production programs, and they're awesome. Del Oro's got a really good program,
okay.
and Christian Brothers and Granite Bay. So there are some other schools out there that are doing something similar. But I think at the level of how much they're doing, we do it on a daily basis. And I don't know too many schools that are doing that.
Are there people that want to move into the Rocklin district so they can go to your school?
I would think so, but I'm not really 100%.
There's no inter-district transferring happening so they can be a part of Ben Barnholdt's program?
That might be, but I don't want to hear. I don't know about that.
Can't talk about that.
Yes,
That's not
yes.
legal.
Yeah.
Okay, talking about what's going on over at Whitney, what does progress look for you in the coming years?
Right now, we're in a transition period. So half of the students here are the ones going to college, and the next half are coming in. And we actually have a belief and a philosophy that hangs up on the wall that says, work like you have something to prove, not like you're preserving a legacy. So the younger kids right here, they don't want to necessarily just live on what was in the past. They want to make their own path and their own legacy. And that happens every single year. That's why I love what I do. Not working. I'm going in and we're trying to discover how can we take our program and let's make it 1% better. And then by December, 2 or 3% better. And by the time they graduate, sky's the limit. But we've already reached a certain point. That's for one group, but not for the next group.
No textbooks. Obviously, it's working. How would you describe your style as contrasting a typical classroom? Obviously, I can sense a style difference, but I'm wondering about you personally. How do you do it differently?
I would tell you, I would never ask them to do something that I'm not going to do with them. So if I'm going to make, and if we're going to work and you're going to edit till 5 o'clock, I'm sitting right next to you till 5 o'clock. And if I'm going to ask you to get there at 7 o'clock, or we're going to a national convention and we need to get up at 6, we're going to be there. I'll be there at 5:45 waiting for you, and we'll get some coffee and we'll make it work. But there's never going to be a time where they're going to have to do something that I'm not going to be sitting right next to you doing the same thing.
Yeah. Where did your background, where did your philosophy come from? What inspires you to do this?
I would say I was in TV in college, and then I worked part-time even as a teacher when I knew I was going to get married and I wanted to buy a wedding ring. I worked part-time and taught at the same time. And I would say that my work ethic would probably come from family. I had a single mom, and she worked 3 jobs for my brother and I know no different. So we sleep eventually, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, you can hear the students in the background. They're chuckling because they've seen this man in action, and it's very impressive what you're doing over at Whitney High School. Just thinking about closing thoughts for people who are thinking about jumping into the broadcast industry or trying out a class at their media department. What should they be thinking? What advice would you give?
I would say that you have to take a risk. And even if it's on a phone, we've gone to numerous conventions and they'll tell you, even if it's on a phone or a handheld or whatever, it's always about the story. It's never about the device. So it doesn't matter how fancy your camera is. If the story is not very good, no one's going to watch it. You can shoot it on a cell phone, and if it's a really compelling, good story, millions of people will watch it.
What makes a good story?
A good character and some story development and really having some focus. A lot of times we get a little bit carried away and we get too much in the story and convolute the story. I think if you have a little bit of focus and you really get to the emotion of the story, that's what they do really, really well.
What's a bad story look like?
one that doesn't get churned in on time.
I love it. All right, closing thoughts. Thinking about entrepreneurship in media. Obviously, I'm turning this radio opportunity into an entrepreneurial opportunity for myself. But how many of these students will go on to become entrepreneurs?
I would say in some perspective, almost all of them. You gotta think about this for a second. The students sitting here don't get paid, and they're there 40 minutes before school starts, and they're staying 2 or 3 hours afterwards. So they just believe in a culture. So if I would say to anyone, even if you had a business, sit next to the people, wander around and get to know them, believe in them, and give them an opportunity. And when they fail, pick them up. And I think that's what they're really good at, even with their own peers.
Yeah. They will all be an entrepreneur in some way. I want to thank you, Ben, for coming on, bringing on your class with you. Very inspiring for me as I attempt to be a radio boy myself. Next week, we're going to have Kwame Anku and John Ralston sharing their entrepreneurial journeys. When we return, Marcus and I will share our takeaways and closing thoughts. Join the revolution at HaneyBiz.com, brought to you courtesy of Ethan Conrad Properties and financial advisors, Stifel Financial. This is the HaneyBiz Project.